All right, let's get into it. The Steelers might have come up short on the scoreboard against the Buccaneers in this preseason clash. But as we all know, the score is almost irrelevant in games like these. What really matters, and what coaches, analysts, and yes, even fans should be watching, are the reps, the execution, the schemes being tested, and most of all, the individual performances that hint at what's to come when the lights are really on. And there was one play in particular that jumped out, not because it was flashy or resulted in a massive gain, but because of what it revealed about Arthur Smith's offensive philosophy, the trust in a young receiver like Roman Wilson, and the type of play-action attack we might be seeing a whole lot more of once the regular season kicks off. The play I'm talking about happened with Skylar Thompson under center, or, well, in shotgun, and it's one that immediately caught my eye alive. Then, after speaking with both Thompson and Wilson post-game, it was confirmed this was a version of a classic Shanahan concept known as burner. Now, for those who love digging into play designs and concepts, this one's a treat. It's a staple in modern offenses that borrow from Shanahan's playbook, and it's effective because it combines deep route manipulation with play action to create a wide-open middle of the field. Here's how it went down. The Steelers were in 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and they lined up in a condensed 2-by-2 formation. Before the snap, Connor Hayward went in motion, and when the ball was snapped, everything about the look screamed play action. Thompson faked the handoff, which instantly sucked the Buccaneers linebackers a few steps forward. Exactly what you want when you're trying to hit a high crosser behind them. Scotty Miller lined up to the top of the formation, ran the deep pylon, a long developing route that starts inside and then breaks hard to the outside. The purpose here isn't necessarily to get him the ball, though that's always an option depending on the coverage. Instead, it's about forcing the safeties to respect the vertical threat. And because Tampa Bay was in cover 4, Miller's route had to be respected by both the boundary corner and the safety dropping deep. That clears space. Then you've got Roman Wilson. He's at the bottom of the formation, and he's running the high crosser, the true target of this play. Once Miller starts pulling defenders deep and wide, Wilson comes flying underneath, ideally hitting the void between the creeping linebackers and the backpedaling secondary. The success of this route depends on timing, leverage, and disguise. If the defense gets even a whiff that Wilson is breaking across, they might collapse the zone and shut it down. But if he sells vertical, if he pushes hard upfield and forces the corner to turn and run, then that crosser becomes lethal. And that's exactly what happened. Wilson took off like a rocket. His college tape at Michigan showed off his speed plenty of times, but this was the kind of in-game execution that reminds you why the Steelers spent a third-round pick on him. He doesn't round his break lazily or telegraph the route. He attacks the defender's leverage, keeps his stem aggressive, and then cuts sharply across the field. The coverage? Completely out of phase. Both the deep defenders got pulled away by the vertical threats, and by the time Roman makes his break, he's got daylight, a whole patch of field to himself. Now, could Skylar Thompson have thrown the ball a tick earlier? Probably. He hits his back foot, and you kind of want to see him rip it right then and there. Instead, he hitches slightly, then throws. That delay means Roman catches it closer to the sideline, cutting down his space to turn upfield. But still, the play works. It's clean. It's sharp. It's exactly what you want from a high cross concept off play action. This is the kind of design that Arthur Smith is bringing into Pittsburgh, finally. Last year, whether it was by design or necessity, the Steelers' play-action game was incredibly limited. A lot of bootlegs, a lot of rollouts to the flat, very few concepts that attack the middle of the field with any regularity. And that's a problem, especially in today's NFL where elite offenses win by manipulating linebackers, punishing zone coverage, and giving their quarterbacks easy reads and quick completions off of misdirection. When Smith was in Tennessee, he made a living off this kind of stuff. Ryan Tannehill's most efficient stretches came running variations of burner, strike, drift, all these high cross concepts built off hard play action fakes. It kept defenses honest, stretched the field horizontally and vertically, and gave weapons like A.J. Brown room to work after the catch. Even in Atlanta, despite the inconsistency at quarterback, you still saw flashes of this system. And now, Smith is implementing that DNA into the Steelers' offense. This preseason is only the beginning, of course. The playbook is deliberately thin in these exhibition games. You're not seeing the full arsenal. Teams don't want to put too much on tape. But the fact that this concept made an appearance and looked this smooth tells you a lot. Smith is installing his identity already. And he's not just dipping his toe in. He's going for it. But there's more to this than just the scheme. It's also a statement about Roman Wilson. Here's a guy who basically redshirted his rookie year due to injury. 4 snaps, no targets, a complete wash of a season. But he's back now, healthy, and clearly gaining trust within the offense. And this play, this high cross-off play action, it's right in his wheelhouse. This isn't about beating press coverage at the line. This isn't about running a perfect dig or a stop route or battling on contested catches. This is about pure speed, intelligent route running, and understanding leverage. It's what Roman did best at Michigan, and it's how you maximize his skill set at the next level. And this is important, because when you draft a receiver like Wilson in the 3rd round, you're doing it for a reason. You see traits, specific ones, that you believe fit your offensive vision. The Steelers saw his speed, his ability to separate on deep crossers, and now they're putting him in position to do exactly that. And when it works, like it did here, it validates the pick, it builds confidence, and it sends a message to everyone in the building. This guy can contribute now. This also shows us what kind of quarterbacks this offense needs. Guys who are comfortable turning their back to the defense, resetting, and firing over the middle. Guys who trust the design and have the arm strength and timing to hit routes in stride. Last year, the Steelers didn't really have that. Whether it was Russell Wilson being hesitant to work the middle of the field or Justin Fields being too raw to trust consistently in those moments, the options were limited. But in this system, the real Arthur Smith system, those throws are going to be mandatory. That was a huge issue last year, predictability. Too many drives that fell stuck in neutral, too many quick outs, shallow crossers, bubble screens that went nowhere. Defenses didn't have to guess. They knew what was coming. But now there's a hint of uncertainty. Now there's structure, deception, layered concepts. You're forcing defenses to cover more ground, honor more looks, stay honest longer. And all of that starts with plays like this one. We've still got a lot of preseason left. A quick turnaround coming against Carolina, but this game against Tampa Bay gave us a glimpse. Not just of a better playbook, but of a better philosophy. One that plays to your personnel. One that adapts. One that doesn't settle for the same old habits. This was just one snap in one preseason game, but it told a much bigger story. And if you were watching closely, you saw it too. And what makes this all the more fascinating is how seamlessly it ties back into Arthur Smith's offensive DNA. You can't talk about Smith without understanding how much he relies on concepts like these. Ones that put the defense in a bind. Ones that stretch zones both vertically and horizontally, and most importantly, ones that let athletes be athletes. These are not overly complex plays when you draw them up on a whiteboard, but they demand precision, timing, and vision from the quarterback and the receiver. When those boxes are checked, you end up with something that's both efficient and explosive, the holy grail for any modern offense. Let's circle back to what the defense actually did wrong on this play, because honestly, this wasn't just a moment of offensive brilliance. It also highlighted how easily a disciplined concept can expose even a halfway decent coverage unit. Tampa Bay had 4 defenders dropping back into their zones. On paper, that should have been enough to neutralize a 2-man route combo, like the one Pittsburgh ran. But when you pair that with play action that causes hesitation at the second level, you get hesitation and confusion on the back end. The safeties and corners weren't synced. One was following Scotty Miller, which makes sense, but the other, well, he drifted. And in that hesitation, Roman Wilson was already slicing across the field. He didn't even have to break stride. It's that kind of miscommunication, induced, not accidental, that Smith's offense thrives on. Because once you're even a second late in zone coverage against speed like Wilson's, it's already too late. He's not the kind of receiver you can recover against unless you're running with Olympic-level speed yourself. And when that route is schemed so that the break happens right at the soft spot between the corner and safety, it's practically a cheat code. You could see Tampa's defenders looking at each other post-snap like someone missed an assignment. Truth is, nobody really did. They just got out-schemed. Now, that brings us to another important point. This is still preseason. So if you're seeing stuff like this now, when the game plan is limited, the playbook is trimmed down, and reps are divided among a rotating cast of second and third stringers, imagine what this looks like when the real bullets start flying in September. Imagine Wilson running that route with a starting caliber quarterback who trusts him completely. Imagine this concept being called when the offensive line is fully locked in, giving the QB that extra beat to let the play develop. This wasn't just a one-off. This was a preview of how Arthur Smith plans to create chaos in the middle of the field. And that middle-of-the-field attack has been sorely missing in Pittsburgh over the last couple of years. Too often, we saw the Steelers stuck in a box, literally. Everything was happening near the sidelines, with very little working the seams, the deep crossers, or even basic intermediate digs. Part of that was personnel. Part of it was philosophy. But mostly, it was just a lack of commitment to creating depth in the passing game. That's changing. And this play was a prime example of how to do it without overcomplicating things. There's also something to be said for the timing of when this was called. Early in a drive. Not backed up, not in a must-convert third down. First down, good field position. The perfect time to take a calculated shot without taking on much risk. If Wilson doesn't shake loose, no big deal. Thompson still has a check-down option underneath. That's the beauty of it. This isn't an all-or-nothing shot play. It's structured. It's layered. You've got a vertical to clear space, a crossing route to exploit that space, and a dump-off to bail out if it all collapses. That's clean design. That's smart football. That's Arthur Smith. And speaking of that check-down, that third read, let's talk about how important that is. Because it's not just there as a last resort. It serves a very real purpose. When defenses eventually start catching on to the high crossers and start sinking their backers deeper or dropping their safeties tighter, that check down becomes the counter. If a linebacker bails too soon to protect the middle, suddenly your running backs sitting wide open 4 or 5 yards off the line of scrimmage with no one near him. And with a head of steam, that's a free 7 or 8 yards, maybe more. It's a chess move. You show them the burner. You bait them into defending it. Then you punish them underneath. This is what good offenses do. They evolve, they adapt, and they build answers into every layer of their progression. That's not something you could say about Pittsburgh's offense last season. Way too often, it felt like they were guessing, not dictating. Now it looks like they're doing the dictating. They're building a system where the quarterback has solutions baked into the play. If the deep shot's there, take it. If the crosser opens up, let it rip. If not, take the gimme underneath and live to play another down. That kind of structure empowers your quarterbacks, gives confidence to young receivers, and most importantly, wears defenses out. And that brings us to the psychological side of this. You run a play like this once or twice early in a game, and suddenly the linebackers are hesitating. Safeties start creeping a half step closer to the middle instead of staying deep. Corners start giving a little more cushion. That's when you hit them with the outside zone. That's when you take the post shot over the top. That's when you run the bootleg and find your tight end wide open in the flat. Everything builds off of everything else. It's like offensive jiu-jitsu. Use their momentum against them. Force them into indecision. Then capitalize. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The latest rumor shaking the NFL community comes from an unexpected twist involving one of Washington's most reliable and explosive offensive weapons, wide receiver Terry McLaurin, and a potential surprising destination in Pittsburgh. Whispers emerging from league insiders suggest that the Steelers, who have long been known for their storied history of developing iconic wide receivers, may be on the verge of securing McLaurin in what could be considered one of the most impactful moves of the offseason. The chatter began circulating after a series of vague social media interactions, cryptic posts, and carefully worded responses from both McLaurin and members of the Commanders' front office, fueling speculation that something significant might be brewing behind closed doors. Pittsburgh's passionate fan base has latched onto these rumors with intensity, creating heated debates on talk shows, podcasts, and online forums about whether such a move is realistic or simply another baseless offseason fantasy. McLaurin, who has consistently been among the league leaders in receptions, yards, and contested catches despite instability at the quarterback position in Washington, is exactly the type of playmaker that could redefine the Steelers' offense and open up opportunities for young talents already on the roster. His rumored arrival has therefore electrified discussions, sparking dreams of an offensive resurgence. The speculative scenario surrounding McLaurin's potential landing in Pittsburgh has added another layer to the always volatile relationship between players, franchises, and their fans. In Washington, McLaurin has been a beacon of professionalism and consistency, often praised for his leadership qualities and his ability to elevate the team even during turbulent seasons marked by constant coaching changes and quarterback uncertainty. Losing such a cornerstone figure would not only impact the Commanders' offensive identity, but also send shockwaves throughout the locker room, where his presence has been considered stabilizing and inspirational. Meanwhile, the Steelers have been navigating their own offensive transition, attempting to balance a growing emphasis on their young quarterback's development with a need for veteran leadership at the skill positions. Adding McLaurin to the mix would instantly provide a reliable target capable of stretching defenses vertically, winning contested balls in critical moments, and creating mismatches against even the most elite cornerbacks. Fans in Pittsburgh are already envisioning scenarios where McLaurin lines up alongside emerging talents, creating a dynamic unit that could rival any offense in the AFC North. The rumor has also reignited conversations about the Steelers' commitment to building around explosive firepower rather than relying exclusively on their historically dominant defense. From a financial perspective, the whispers surrounding McLaurin's possible transition to the Steelers raise intriguing questions about the salary cap maneuvering required to make such a blockbuster move feasible. McLaurin, who signed a lucrative extension with Washington not long ago, represents a significant financial commitment for any franchise looking to secure his services. The Steelers have traditionally been cautious with big-money moves for offensive stars, often relying on their drafting acumen to supply their receiving core. Yet, the lure of adding a proven star at the peak of his career could prompt Pittsburgh to break with tradition and explore creative options to fit McLaurin's contract into their cap structure. Speculation ranges from possible renegotiations of existing deals to hypothetical trades involving draft capital or current players to offset the financial burden. Analysts argue that while the logistics appear daunting, the payoff in terms of offensive production and fan excitement could justify the gamble. The Steelers are often regarded as a franchise that values culture as much as talent, and McLaurin's reputation as a hard worker and consummate professional only enhances the plausibility of such a bold pursuit. This has fueled endless debates on whether the Steelers' front office might be quietly orchestrating a rare aggressive play. The ripple effect of McLaurin possibly joining Pittsburgh extends far beyond simple roster speculation, as rival teams across the league are closely monitoring the situation. Within the AFC North, where divisional rivalries are some of the fiercest in football, the addition of a player of McLaurin's caliber could tilt the balance of power in subtle, yet significant ways. Defenses that have long schemed to contain Pittsburgh's physical run game and young passing threats would suddenly have to contend with a proven star capable of altering game plans with a single explosive play. Analysts suggest that if such a move were to materialize, it would force rival teams like the Bengals, Browns, and Ravens to adjust their defensive personnel and strategies to account for McLaurin's presence on the field. National media has also weighed in, with some commentators dismissing the rumors as pure off-season chatter, while others insist that where there is smoke, there may be fire. The Commanders, on the other hand, would face the difficult task of filling the void left by their most consistent offensive weapon, a challenge that could reshape their trajectory for seasons to come. This dual impact on both conferences illustrates why the rumor has captured such widespread attention. At the heart of the buzz is the undeniable fact that McLaurin has established himself as one of the league's most respected and admired receivers, both on and off the field. His combination of speed, route running precision, and clutch performance has made him a nightmare for defenses and a dream for quarterbacks in need of a reliable target. Beyond the statistics, McLaurin's leadership and quiet determination have earned him admiration from teammates, coaches, and fans across the NFL. For Pittsburgh, a franchise steeped in tradition and a relentless pursuit of championships, adding a player of his character and talent represents more than just a potential upgrade. It symbolizes a renewed statement of intent. While official confirmation remains elusive and the rumor could ultimately dissolve into nothing more than off-season gossip, the energy it has generated highlights how star players can ignite imaginations and alter perceptions of entire franchises. As training camps approach and speculation intensifies, the possibility of McLaurin wearing black and gold, catching passes under the bright lights of Acrisure Stadium, continues to linger in conversations, fueling excitement, skepticism, and endless what-if scenarios among fans and analysts alike. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.